Real bread tastes great, full of nutrition, satisfies your appetite. Nothing beats the stuff of life, the lasting energy. Real bread tastes great, with a little butter, honey, egg or avocado. Real bread, let it be a companion with every meal.
Hi, Baker Pete. Today I'm going to show you how to make a real, genuine, allergy-free sourdough bread. So it's so simple. So that's all we need: flour, water and Celtic salt. So I want to illustrate how to make up the consistency of the bread mix. That's important. It's all in the book, but it's easier if I illustrate. So let's get into it. I've got 2 cups of water. I've got 650 grams of freshly milled whole grain flour. Nothing taken from it, so the bran is still in there and nothing added to it. No chemicals, no agents whatsoever. It's the real deal. So let's start. Now I'm not going to use all the water. I don't want it to be too sloppy. You'll notice that's why I want to illustrate and show you the correct mixture as such. So let's start. I've got the flour. See, I've got quite a bit left, and I'll start cutting it through. I've got to work a little bit harder on this. But I don't want it to be too, because by the time I add our beautiful starter to it, it'll be too sloppy, and it's going to translate in it for you harder to knead the dough when the time is right. So we probably need a little bit more there. Just down the bottom there with the dry parts. We don't want any dry particles. That's pretty important. So that's why we're going to make sure we've got rid of all of it. They're taking up a fair bit of the water, but hey, that's all right. It depends on the wheat, whether it was a fairly wet season. I'm going to use a fair bit of this. So that's 2 cups anyway. Okay. Notice the consistency. It's not like your normal starter where it can be quite moist, quite sloppy. This one's a little bit harder, and you've got to work a little bit harder to get it right as well. I'm just going to put a little bit. I'll probably use just about all of that water. I have used it all. That's all right. That's good. Just work it through, cut it through. Starting to get into some sort of consistency, the sort of consistency that I want. I've got to work it. That's the consistency that I want. It's quite firm. Okay, you can see that. No dry spots. Now, what we're going to add to it is our starter. Now, I made the starter up about 4 hours ago. That was the mark that it went to, so in the last 4 hours it's risen to that height. Look at the wonderful bubbles. That's pretty potent. So we're ready to rock on this one here. So what I'm going to do is add a cup, about 250 grams of the starter to it. Here or there, doesn't have to be spot on. Okay, so we'll add the starter to it. That's 250 grams. And mix it in. Mix it in well. Okay, so that's your bread mix with the starter added. Then we'll do the salt. Now, as I say in the book, we've got to weigh up the weight of those ingredients. That's the mix with the starter. And it'll come to about 1,320 grams. All the salt we need, and this is important, you just don't throw salt into it. You'd use about 0.8% of its total weight, which comes in at 10 grams of salt. Now, it's a little bit overcast, it's a little bit cold, so I'll drop it down to 9 so that it'll come up a little bit faster. So there's the salt added, and then we'll mix that in. Once again, just mix it through, and that's it. You've mixed it up, and what we're going to do now is let it sit for about an hour and a half before we knead it. I'll put a cloth over it. We'll wait an hour and a half, then we'll come back and we'll show you how to knead the bread. Okay, we're going to knead the bread. We've still got some leftover starter from the bread mix. This goes straight back into the fridge and will remain there until you're ready to do another loaf of bread. I also forgot to mention that the salt we use is the Celtic salt, the only salt that's been validated to have 84 minerals in it, and it's just so beneficial for the microorganisms. So okay, I've milled up some flour so we can knead the bread. So we put a little bit of flour yonder, we take our mix out, put some flour on the top. Now when you knead, you knead with the ball of your palms. So it's a nice little action. Well, it's good consistency there, and just turn it around. Don't just flat. Do it whatever way you like. I mean, our kids have a ball when they do the kneading. So, okay, you do it. The whole idea of kneading is to mix up the flour and the salt, so it's evenly distributed throughout the bread mix. So we'll do a few more of these. You don't have to be here for hours doing your mix. That's good. Quite a bit. It's quite elastic. That's quite good. So what we're going to do is we're going to let it sit in a minute for another half hour, and then we'll knead it again, and then put it in the tins ready. Okay, that's just put it like so, and put the cloth over the top of it, and we'll be back in half an hour to do another knead. The half hour's up and we're ready to knead the bread again. So we don't need much, just get the flour there, knead it. So we'll knead it, and then we'll shape it, and then we'll put it into the tin, and we just have to wait for it to rise up in the tin. So from the time you start the bread until the time it goes in the oven, it should be around 8 hours. That way it takes the phytic acid out of the flour. Phytic acid is in all grain, particularly wheat. It creates most of the allergies associated with bread. People will say wheat and gluten. No, it's the chemicals, the glyphosate and the phytin that creates the problem. So by kneading it and letting it sit, or by letting it sit for 8 hours, that'll take it out. Now let's start to shape it, because it's just about ready. Just before I do, I've got 2 bread tins. Now, this is the bread tin that I'll use, which is the baker's tin, and that's 24 long by 11 wide and 10 deep. This is your supermarket one, and that's fine as well. This one's 23 by 13 by 7 deep. I like the baker's tin. It's a little bit deeper, and it stops the bread going over the side. It's not to say that it will with this particular tin, but I'm just used to using baker's tins. So I'm just getting the bread shaped, and then I just, like so, and put it in the tin. Now, what I will do, what I'll do with a sharp knife is cut 4 grooves across there, so that when it stretches, it doesn't split the bread. And so what we have to do now is just wait until it rises, and then we'll put it in the oven. Well, as you can see, the bread's risen in the tin, so it's ready to go into the oven. So I'll preheat the oven at 200 degrees Celsius and we'll bake the bread for an hour and we'll have a look at it then. Okay, the hour's up, so we're ready to take our bread out.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Okay, so take it out and we will put it on our tray. Oh wow, that's nice. Now it's got to be golden brown, which it is, and it's got to be hollow. It's got that hollowy sound, so that's really, really good. That's our loaf of bread, and we'll let that cool down for maybe a couple of hours, well, 3 or 4 hours ideally, and then we can cut it up and have it with some nice butter. I mean, the temptation is always there to eat it when it's hot, because there's nothing better than bread, hot bread with butter. So, look, I hope you've enjoyed the experience. That's how you make a real, genuine and allergy-free loaf of bread.
Real bread tastes great, full of nutrition, satisfies your appetite. Nothing beats the stuff of life, the lasting energy. Real bread tastes great, with a little butter, honey, egg or avocado. Real bread, let it be a companion with every meal. What has happened to real bread that sustains so many lives?